End of the day, sustainability.
You could say it a bit more enthusiastic.
Oh, sorry. All right, so that's one of my favorite, or probably the favorite. We're going to learn how are we pushing forward in terms of driving sustainable hotels. But then we've got Lisa Wyld from Buckinghamshire University, please. And Vidar Thomassen from ZENNIO. Kendra Ingram from Philips. And Stephen Harron from RBH Hospitality Management. And Stephen would be the moderator.
Thank you very much.
All right, good luck.
Yeah, good luck, thanks. The good news is we're left with the hardcore ones now. The ones that have still got a drinks voucher in their pocket. I was tempted to come up here with a beer, but I thought that might be a bit rude for everybody else. Thank you for sticking with us. I am very aware that this panel sits between you guys and the bar, or a trip home, whichever. So we will endeavour to make it interesting, entertaining, or failing all that, swift. So I'll ask each person. I know we had a brief introduction from Charles, thank you. I'll ask you to just give us a bit more details about yourself, what you do, and a little bit of your history, if you would. Lisa, if I can start with you.
Oh, feels like blind date, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
Welcome, and thank you very much for staying with us. So I am Lisa Wyld. I am a professor in hospitality innovation and leadership, and also the head of Missenden Abbey International Hotel and Hospitality School at Buckinghamshire New University. And I think I have the longest job title of anybody that's here today. It's a brand new hospitality and hotel school. We only launched this time last year. And before that, I was in industry, so I am not a pure academic. I am very much a pracademic and trying to link in industry and education.
Thank you, Lisa.
So I'm Vidar Thomassen. I'm the director of the UK entity of ZENNIO, and we are a manufacturer of hardware and a developer of software used in guest room automation in more than 100,000 hotel rooms around the world. And our main focus are energy consumption reduction and sustainability.
Thanks, Vidar. And Kendra?
So I'm Kendra, and I'm from Philips Professional Displays. I hope you recognise the name. We're quite a large company. We specialise, my division, in in-room TV, but we also do lots of other signage products from a 10-inch right up to LED. And I would like to say that we take sustainability very, very seriously. And just 2 weeks ago, we've been awarded EcoVadis Gold Award, which only 5% of big companies have managed to get.
Very good. An answer to one of the questions, do we use AI regularly? And yes, I do, because when I saw sustainable strategies for elevated guest experiences, I thought I would put that through ChatGPT and find out what the hell it was. And apparently, well, not apparently, it is. You can look at guest experience essentially through lots of different strands, but I'd like to break it down to three key strands. And we'll look at innovative design and technology integration to start with, because we've heard a lot about AI and chatbots and robots and that sort of thing, but we'll look more integrated in the hotel, in the bedrooms and around the hotel. And then we'll look at team and guest education, because actually we've got to bring, as we said earlier, we've got to bring guests and our teams with us on that journey. And then finally, we've got some great people here representing fantastic companies and organizations. And how do we work better with organizations and partnerships and work with these people? Because actually they're doing amazing things. We've learned so much just by being here today. So looking at each one of those, and I'll turn firstly to design and manufacturing, if I can start with to Kendra, if I may. So Kendra, from Philips, in your point of view, how do you think innovations in product design has changed with the environment and the greater focus on the environment?
For us, it's been absolutely transformative. So a lot of our products were actually now starting from the eco side rather than from what it can do. So one of the big products that we launched last year was our Tableau, which we have outside, which was the world's first energy zero product. And it is complete energy zero when it's on. It only takes a very, very small amount of energy when you're changing the image. And it is so innovative. It's nothing else like that. And when we talk about technology, it's things like that, yes, it's quite expensive, I get that, and we only have a couple of products now, but you think what we're going to go for in 10 years' time, because that is how fast technology is moving. I remember I've been in the industry 20 years, and when I first started, DVD is just launched. Now DVD is completely gone. So you look at a cycle, it is 10-year cycle. So the products that we're developing now will be the mainstay for 10 years' time. And it's not just, the energy is a massive thing for us. So we've got products that are zero, traditional products that are video. We're now looking at different backlights to make it 50% more energy efficient. Our TVs are 40% more energy efficient than our competitors. And also we look at the environment as well. So we're the first company to have a completely plastic-less packaging. There is nothing in our packaging. You know, when you get even the plugs that used to come in plastic bags, even those are in paper bags now, and we use soya-based ink. So, you know, they're really looking from the ground up on product side, and just think what we're going to be in 10 years' time.
That's great. Remind me, what was the name of the screen you showed it to me this morning?
It's called the Tableau.
A Tableau. If you haven't seen it, have a look at it. It's really quite cool. It's like a huge Kindle, and if you think a Kindle hurts your face when you fall asleep on it, that's going to be more. But yeah, it's really good. So, Vidar, similar question to you. ZENNIO, we heard 100,000 rooms under your company at the moment.
Correct.
And how do you incorporate sustainability into hospitality solutions then?
Well, first and foremost, as I said, we are a manufacturer of the devices and a developer of the softwares in order to control buildings and hotel rooms. And this is key in order to achieve any sustainable goals here, short term and in the future, to have any chance of reaching the goals which is set by governments and EU, and which, quite frankly, the guests are more and more guests are demanding, then you have to implement technology, and you cannot leave it to you know, the business card and the key holder or the bank card, or going out for 8 hours and lighting and fan cards are blasting, or even the cleaner coming to the hotel or the housekeeper coming to the hotel room, which I've experienced many times. You feel a little bit warm, they crank down the fan cord, go out, and 5 hours later the guests come to a room which is like an icebox.
Do you? I mean, many hotels have got the key. You pop into the little box that turns the electric on, and of course they all take it with them. Do you find that many guests just leave it in there?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And you can see that from the numbers we have, where we are comparing. We have I showed the case study earlier today, but we have case studies where we're comparing rooms which have the traditional key card and rooms which has our automated solutions, and the difference in energy consumption within these rooms are between 50 to 70% in favor of the automated rooms. So now we are talking serious number, not just monetary-wise and the bottom line for you as a hotelier, but also in reduction of energy consumption and thereof CO2 emission. We can talk about green, you know, we are using green energy and windmills, but the reality is it actually requires CO2 input and energy input to produce this and to create the new grids which in order to transport the electricity. So the only way we are going to achieve these goals is actually to minimizing consumption, not just thinking that we are going to produce all the electricity in a green way via windmills or solar panels.
Vidar, you mentioned automated room for the benefit of the room here. What the hell's an automated room?
It starts already by the fact that we communicate with the PMS, and now we are, at the moment, I think we integrate with more than 180 of the weird and wonderful world of PMSs. There is a huge quality difference in between many, and it's the difference in the information. But we actually get the basic information. Is the room sold? Is it unsold? Of course, if it's unsold, then we keep the room at a minimum without any human input, whilst keeping it safe, meaning that if you are in a location where humidity is a problem, then we have the ventilation system running, so damp is not a problem in the room, or is it too cold that you don't have a problem with pipes freezing, and so on and so forth. So the PMS tells us that the room is now sold, and the guest is expected to check in tomorrow. Then tomorrow we will then change the status of the room automatically with no human input to a waiting status. The guest checks in, he comes to the room, and the room automatically goes into a welcome status with the name of the guest on the tablet. We can even change dynamically the language of the little touch panel and the controller. We can operate with 5 different languages, where, so if you are French, you will be met with a French text on the panel. We can do Mandarin, we can do various different, which of course enhances the guest experience for sure, and also make it easier to operate. I'm not going to lie, it's been a problem in our industry that a lot of systems have been designed by engineers thinking that every guest is an engineer and they understand it. And this for me, I stayed in a hotel for a very large brand in Germany just a few months ago, and I was met by a manual on the bedside table and how to operate the system. And for God's sake, if you have to put a manual on the bedside table, you have lost the argument before the guests have arrived. It's not even up for discussion. So all of this has to be automated in the back end to making sure that the input from the guest is kept to a minimum, and the input of the guest is made as simple as possible. And then, as I say, you're met with a welcome scene. You're now in the room, and you are in control of the room, so you can set temperatures, you can change lights. But what we do is we in conjunction with the hotel, we set a minimum level and we set a maximum level. So you can ask for 30 degrees, you ain't going to get 30 degrees. You can ask for 16 degrees cooling, you're not going to get it. You're going to get 19. You know, and these small things makes a massive difference when you pay the bill at the end of the month.
So it sounds expensive. Sounds really expensive. What sort of ROI in that? I mean, you mentioned some numbers earlier. What sort of ROI should we expect?
Typically on many projects, we are talking about an ROI which is less than 1 year, down to as little as 9 months. The fact of the matter is that a lot of these systems you will have to put in some certain, in one way or another. You have to have a controller for your Daikin or your Mitsubishi. Well, you're not having that. We are doing that. You have to have the light switches. Well, you're not having the light switches. We are doing that. So it's not necessarily an extra cost. It is, and you are actually simplifying things like with a new project, wiring and installation. So in some certain terms, it can actually be almost as cost-effective as a traditional system, but way more energy efficient and helping you to reduce your running costs and improving your bottom line.
Wow, that sounds pretty amazing, really. Lisa, you've been very quiet, and it's a very long time, clearly, since I sat in a classroom. How has design and technology thinking and teaching changed in recent years, and what sort of things are you covering?
Massively in the last couple of years or so, and particularly now when we start to look at the types of students that we're getting, and I mean that from a generation point of view rather than sort of whether they're male, female, or anything like that. There's lots of changes in what they want to learn, and also the types of technology they want to be involved with and everything else. So that's completely reframed and changed the curriculum, and also being able to keep up with what is happening in the industry. But also I think that the tough thing for us, whether it's looking at sustainability, whether it's looking at technology, whether it's looking at guest experiences, we need to be 4 or 5 years ahead in the classroom than what the industry is, because by the time our students are graduating and are ready to have those full-time jobs, if we're too far behind, if we're too far behind what the industry is doing, what we're teaching is out of date. So that makes a lot of pressure on us, but also that means for us to communicating with industry, what's coming out, what are the new things, what is the innovation, looking at the research that we are doing from an education point of view of what is going to be next. So there's been lots of things around AI and things like that. I think from an AI, from a university point of view, is the one big dread, because you can put a few prompts into ChatGPT and they could write your essay for you. Not necessarily an essay that would pass, but an essay that can be submitted. So I think sort of the benefits of some of the technology that's coming along is really positive, but it's meaning that we've got to reframe what we're doing in the classroom completely to ensure that we've got the future leaders of the industry within our classrooms, but there's no point in those future leaders not having the future knowledge that's needed, which means that we have to rethink and redesign. And those of you that have been to university a number of years ago, maybe, the way that curriculum is designed and put together and how industry is now involved with that is completely changing.
And you said students are much more keen to learn on the... Is that really the case? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, particularly if we look at Gen Z, and when we started to move now into Gen Alpha will be the next lot that we've got coming through the doors. So anybody that was born after 2010 is now Gen Alpha. So it won't be long before they're out in the workforce and everything else. They are so much more sustainability driven, so much more tech-minded driven. I must admit, possibly not so much customer experience driven or guest experience driven, because they will grunt at you rather than doing anything else. But that's part of being taught that as well. But we're now moving away from looking at when we had the silent generation, and then the baby boomers, and then Generation X, and then Generation Y, and everything else, and all of the way that students are now looking at things and the future workforce and everything else. They want the technology, but they want the sustainability alongside that. They are much more mindful about the footprints they are leaving behind, shall we say.
That's quite frightening that we're actually talking of employing somebody born in 2010. I think my car was born in 2010, so it must be time for an upgrade.
They'll soon be with us.
We heard earlier today, we heard from Ava and Numa, a lot of conversations around that and the room and what they're doing, which is fantastic for her style of hotels. I don't think it's for everybody, but certainly there is a market for it. And we heard about marketing today, talking about lots of data and chatbots, and from James's session with Gavin, Joss, and Javid about robotics and AI and predicting every touch point and everything else. Kendra, for you, do you think technology is getting in the way of guest experience, or is it actually enhancing it?
I would probably say from my TV point of view, it's enhancing it. We can do a lot more to customise the guest experience, whether it be from the guest languages that you spoke to, which is a really big thing, especially sitting in a central London hotel. I hate to think how many different languages of the guests they've got here. You know, we have the technology because we're running a Google platform that the guests can come in. We can do it. We can, even if we've got the integration to the PMS, we can do it from the PMS level, that when they get to the room, the TV is all in their own language. We can even do channel packages. So if the hotel has got foreign channels, we can push those foreign channels up. My personal pet hate is when you go on holiday and you're trying to find that one English channel and it's number 43 because you're scrolling through all the channels saying, we've all done it, haven't we? And it's always CNN or something rubbish. But it is all about that personalisation for us. And obviously we have the inbuilt casting as well. So it's the guest bringing their own content as well, so that we're always thinking about what the guest wants and bringing the technology. So you're talking about the future. We've got someone in our product development team who's always thinking about what's the next thing that we want to bring on the TVs for the next generation. And the next big thing, so hold on to your hats, is going to be gaming in room. And gaming is becoming so big that we're now looking at introducing premium gaming on our TVs and things like that for the new platforms. So yeah, always enhancing.
I do have a little smile when you say about gaming in room. For those of a certain age, I think it's probably myself and Matthew that were outside, when you used to have a PlayStation controller with a lead stuck somewhere into the back of your TV and how rubbish it was. Vidar, for you, what Kendra describes and what you described indeed sounds amazing, but how do you, other than pure cash and saving lots of money, which is great, and saving carbon, how do you measure the success of your products in terms of guest satisfaction so that you know you're actually enhancing?
That's a good question. Well, the answer to that, if they don't notice our products, then we are happy. Because if we can stay in the background and doing our things and improving on energy or reducing energy consumption and improving on sustainability, we have succeeded. Of course, there are touch points where the guest has to integrate, and that's what I was saying earlier. We want to make it as simple as possible, as understandable as possible. Via iconography or changing languages. We also are integrating with IPTV. We are integrating with various brands' guest apps, so you can control the temperature from the same app as you are booking your table in the restaurant, and so on and so forth. Just to make the guest involvement as simple as possible, whilst keeping all the clever stuff in the background, and the guest doesn't actually know anything about it, and shouldn't know anything about it, and don't need to know anything about it.
Good, fair answer. Good answer. Moving on to the next strand, really, is about guest education and communications, which is a fine balance between maintaining the guest experience, but also wanted to sing about some of the good things that we're doing, and not be seen as cost-cutting necessarily. Lisa, from us here, certainly you know more about education than any of the rest of us. What can we in hotels, do you think, learn from what you're seeing and doing in universities that might help us educate our guests and our teams?
I think there is such a move now to people actually want to know more about where things have come from, what's going to happen to whatever they've left behind, shall we say. So I think there is the whole thing about how do we educate, how do we ensure that they're even getting a little snapshot of the impact that they're making or the positive elements that they're making. I mean, we've heard a lot today about things like QR codes and being able to scan. Was it Hetty the hedgehog that we had earlier, and lots of other hotel companies have got that sort of idea around educating guests as they go along. And I think there is still, I'm always of two minds that like the little disposable shampoos and things like that we have in hotel bathrooms, do we actually need them? And that's probably a bit of a contentious point, but I think there is that whole idea of educating what happens to things, or whether businesses are using biodiesel and biofuel to be able to redo their oils and everything else, and actually being able to give those little snapshots of stories to the guests as they go along. One of the big things with my school is that we work with industry on various different projects, and the students work on those. So we're doing one at the moment that is about food waste and being able to work out, and this is with a contract caterer, not a hotel, but looking at how to be able to educate the guests that they have on what actually happens with their plate waste and how that is then turned into another form of fuel to be able to enhance both the environment, but also for the guests to have an understanding of actually what is going on behind the scenes and things like that. So I think there's a number of different things that we can do to be able to help to educate guests, but then also our staff as well, on how to be able to improve those different mechanisms. A bit sort of talking about the housekeeper that puts the heating up or down and things like that, and the impact that that has in the long run on both the bottom line of an establishment, but also the environmental footprint that it leaves as well.
That's great. I love the idea of educating our customers about food waste. I mean, anybody that's ever done a breakfast shift will just know the obscene amount of food that goes in the bin at the end of a shift. Kendra, from your point of view, do you think it's possible to educate our guests on the journey?
Yes, definitely. And I think a lot of guests would actually like to come with you on that journey. And I hate to say this in front of a lot of hoteliers because they probably all do it. My pet hate is lighting, especially if you come back at midnight and you're trying to find that one light that you don't know how to turn in the hotel I was in yesterday, I had to turn off 5 lights to go to sleep. 5. I mean, it's completely crazy. And as you were saying about children, you know, I have in a smart home. I think a lot of people have smart home. She's used to lights going off at a certain time. Everything's on Alexa's. Alexa, turn the light off. So she will turn the lights off when she leaves the room. So I actually think they want to come with you. Personally, I want to come with you, and I want all your hoteliers, please, not to put all the lights on when I enter a room.
Vidar, what do you think the biggest challenges you face when trying to implement the sort of initiatives you describe? Other than money.
Yeah, well, the structure of the hospitality industry, where the people who owns the building and who pays for this, which goes in the first place, are not the one who are seeing the benefit of what we are doing. That is you as the hoteliers. So we sometimes have the struggle that the people who are the investor behind the building, nah, I'm not going to do this because I'm not seeing the benefits. That is changing now, thank God. Hoteliers and brands are getting more strict and insisting that this has to happen in order to sign on the dotted line. There is also, I want to referring back to the previous question. There is a lot more awareness now amongst guests about sustainability, and a lot of guests want to know what is happening and what impact they are actually making. And let's be honest with ourselves, hospitality is kind of not sustainable because you are doubling up on your own home in a way. So anything we can do and anything we can show the guests. So we now have a number of projects where there has been a requirement where we actually are displaying real-time energy consumption for the guests and their impact on CO2 during their stay, and this is something which has been very well received and is being used by these establishments in their marketing to attract a certain type of guests, of which there are becoming more and more, no doubt.
I love that idea of real time. Here's the carbon in your room. That's
exactly what we are doing.
That's great. Lisa. You talked about how engaged students were, or how they want to know. What do you think the risk is if we don't get buy-in from our teams along the way?
I think there's a huge risk, and I think as the generation of the workforce changes, there's going to be the fact that they all choose. I mean, a lot of our students, and when they graduate, they've already got an idea of who they want to work for because of the values of that company. And I think as the generations change and as we move forward and as sustainability becomes even more of a focal point, if the industry doesn't move forward with various different projects and everything else, we're at risk of not having any workforce at all for certain brands, because the younger generation are very much about values, from what I see and from talking to various different people and the research that we've also done as well, that they're choosing based on the values of the organisation, the values of the people that work there. And if sustainability isn't that focal point and not just a bit of greenwashing and a bit of advertising and a bit of marketing, but in the reality, none of that actually exists, we're already in a case with the industry that we've got a recruitment crisis potentially. And if people are they're voting with their feet and only will work with X and Y companies because of those values, I think we'll be in a bit of a sorry state. And one of the programs that we've launched with the school is in hotel innovation and sustainability. And that is one of our most popular programs. And that's what people want to be studying, and therefore going into those particular areas within the industry. And if there aren't the jobs available within the companies with the values that they're held, then we're going to be in a bit of a sorry state. Sorry.
Wow. Need to give Numa a call by the sounds of it. I'm just conscious it's getting very close to beer o'clock. So I've got a couple of questions for each of you just to finish. Start with Kendra at the end. How can we work better with partners like yourselves? Other than just buy everything you're
buy the product.
Buy my product. Yeah. We do like to have a close relationship with our hotel brands and the system integrators that we work with, and we do sort of work very closely to make the sustainability thing very priority. We worked with a big group recently, swapping out our TVs, and he said he hasn't been able to quantify the savings yet because he hasn't had all the bills in yet, but he thinks there is a significant cost saving. And we want to bring you on our journey. We want to show you our latest products and keep that close relationship. And we always take feedback as well. So we're not one of these companies that doesn't listen to what people want. We will always listen, and if we can, we will do it.
I must admit, we look at LED lights and we look at heating and air conditioning, but never really considered the television, bizarrely, as an energy source that's just burning, because the guest could check in at 2 o'clock and the TV would come on with his "Welcome, Mr. Smith," yeah. But Mr. Smith doesn't go to room to 9 o'clock because he's gone to a meeting, and it's a real interesting point. Same question to yourself, Vidar. How do we work with partners like you?
Well, same as Kendra, we like to work very closely with our customers, because that's the only way we can improve our products, and not just the hardware, but also the guest experience part of it, and the touch point from the various hoteliers' guests. We actually have a lot of information of how the room is being used and how it's being operated. And something we have started to do lately is that we are actually giving this information to you as hoteliers via our API integration. And there is a lot of valuable information for you as hoteliers too, and that all of this has happened because this is something we have been asked for, working closely with people like yourself.
I'm get a little bit worried there when you say information about how the room is used, and just marketing get hold of some of that information might be quite scary. And Lisa, same question.
Okay. I have a little question for the audience. How many of you heard of Innovate UK?
Yes, I've heard of Innovate. Yeah.
We've got a couple of hands gone up. How many of you heard of knowledge transfer projects? A couple again. Okay. I was hoping for more. And I think that's the one thing that I would like to say about how you can work more closely with universities and everything else, is actually looking at how we can help you with your research. And I don't mean research as in pure crunching of numbers and everything else, but projects that you're working on guest experience, on sustainability, that we can then work together on knowledge transfer projects via Innovate UK. And I suppose the one positive thing of that is the fact that we can apply for a pot of money to be able to help this research to happen. So my one thing to say about how we could work closer together is actually looking at what projects people within the industry would like to work on, whether it's hotel chains or whether it's looking at other parts of the industry, and considering whether it's myself or any other university that's up and down the country, how we can put these projects together to be able to be of benefit to the guest experience moving forward, but also sustainability, but actually having the funding behind them to be able to make those projects come to life.
Wow, free money. Who doesn't like that? And that's what everybody in the panel here is offering, essentially free money. Very quickly, and I think as James said in one sentence or less, what does the future hold? What innovations, what should we expect to see in the future? And again, I'll start at the end and work my way in. Kendra?
Definitely from the what we're doing at the moment, it is less and less energy usage on our products. That is the number one thing that we're working on. So as well as maintaining all the features that you would expect, it is continually looking at reducing. So we've just launched a new range of signage screens as well, where we've looked at different backlights and how that, because the backlight is the bit that makes the picture all shiny. And we've actually managed to produce a new backlight which is 50% more energy efficient. So definitely for us, it is that continual drive for our products to be less and less energy usage.
Wow. Vidar?
Basically, a continuation of what has already started, products and solutions which basically reduces energy consumption in rooms, in communal areas, in restaurants, all over the place, because it's quite frankly the only way you are going to reach the targets which are being set to you by government. It's simple as that. In January, it will by law that you have to achieve, and these targets are going to get stricter and stricter and stricter, and there is absolutely no way you can achieve these targets without implementing a level of technology to help you.
And apart from that, it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Lisa, any hopes and fears for students and education in the future?
I think there's going to be a bigger drive towards students driving us on what they want to see, what subjects they want to study, how they want to embed sustainability, looking at how green leadership is going to work as well. So I think there that partnership between us as academics and the industry, and then also students, is going to be a really interesting journey to go on, because I think they are going to be the people that are going to drive us rather than the other way around.
Good. I already rely on my 10-year-old daughter to work my IT for me anyway. Thank you very much, panellists. Thank you very much for your time and some fantastic insights. Any questions from the floor? Just the way we like it. Excellent. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to us. And hand over to, I presume Charles is around somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. That was a very, very interesting panel discussion. Interestingly, just on the guest experience side, when we look at guest mentions around sustainability, in my previous company at Shiji Review Pro, we did a study over 10,000 hotels, and we looked at over 32 million mentions year to date. Anybody want to guess how many mentions in online reviews use the words or anything to do with sustainability? What percentage of those 32 million mentions? Any guess? Very good. Less than 2%. So very close. So it's really interesting, like, how do we translate everything that we've spoke about today into actually getting our guests to talk about it?